Every skill we've used in this series, whether it's PowerPoint, Excel, Humanizer, Caption Generator, PDF reading, most of them were built by someone. Someone defined what the skill does, what it takes as input, and what it produces as output. And also, someone else defined what the standard it is going to be held up to. This episode is about becoming that person on your team. See, the pre built skills in this series cover most of the common marketing workflows. But your team probably has workflows that aren't common, right? It's a brief report that's specific to how your agency work, or a brand voice, right? That the generic humanizer doesn't know. A review process that a senior person currently does by hand because there's no tool that exists for it. So there are some workflows which are worth turning into custom skills, and today I'm going to show you how we do this. So let's get on with it. Before I get into how a skill is actually built, a quick test for knowing whether it's even worth building, right, is this. See, there are three questions that you can ask. The first is, does your team do this task on repeat? That means, are they using it weekly or monthly? Right? The second is, does the output need a specific format? Right? The generic skills don't produce. And the third is, does a senior person currently review the output for consistency because of how the output varies? If all of them are true, right, you need to build a skill and you need to build it really fast. If even one or two are true, well, you can start with a pre-built skill and see how far it goes, and how far you can get by just using them, because custom skill builds take time to understand and to speculate properly of what is even worth building, and they're worth it when the workflow repeats enough to justify the upfront investment in it. Before anything else, right, I want you to first understand what actually a skill is and what are the components that are part of, let's say, this skill, right? So understanding the anatomy of it. So number one is a trigger condition, right? So when should the skill activate, right? Whether it's when a campaign brief is input, whether a PDF report is there, or a brand review is requested. So understanding what activates this skill, what kind of output is required from it, comes at a later stage. But understanding what kind of input or context tells Claude in its skill mode rather than the general chat mode. For a production skill, this is usually a file, right, and usually a file type or a task type. So a campaign brief or a PDF report. For a review skill, the kind where you have to actually review work, it is probably content plus the instruction to evaluate it. Now the second is, what is the task, right? Because having a trigger just means that you are activating it. So imagine it as a domino. So the first part of the domino is like, when you get dominoes to fall, the first step that you do is actually take your finger, point it at the domino, and then push the first block. So the pushing the first block, the act, is the trigger. The second is, how do you define a task, right? So the task of all the dominoes that are falling one by one. So what does the skill actually do? Not vaguely, but precisely. So instead of saying, review this copy, well, that's not a task definition. You'll probably say something like, check this copy against the following brand voice criteria and flag anything that violates them, right? And that too with a specific reason and a suggested alternative. That's a task, right? And that's a task definition. The precision of this component determines whether the skill produces useful output or generic feedback. Now the third one in this anatomy is the output. So what should the actual even result look like? So the result of all the dominoes falling is the dominoes putting themselves in a pile. Now here we will understand, what does the result look like, what format, what sections, what level of detail. A production skill output probably is going to be a file. A review skill output could be a structured verdict, and that structure of that verdict also needs to be defined. Otherwise you'll just get like one big chunk with a paragraph of general feedback that's even useless. It's not even something that you can act on. And then the fourth component in this entire anatomy is the rubric. That is, what standard should it follow, right? So just getting it
to create an output does not necessitate that the output is going to be correct. It could be that the output is wrong, right? So you need a fourth component that basically reviews these skills based on brand voice, compliance rules, formatting standards, or even checklists, right? And this is going to act as a rubric, right? The standard against which the content is judged. Now, this is what makes a good review skill, okay? And it's going to be genuinely useful rather than asking for something like, okay, is this good? Because the rubric actually contains your criteria, like your banned phrases, your tone principles, your specific do's and don'ts, right? Without a rubric, the skill is judging against its own general sense of what is good writing. So you can't really judge whether the copy that you've written is actually good or not. But with a rubric, it's judging against yours. And that's the difference between a pre-built skill and a custom one. Pre-built skills have these generic standards that are kind of baked into the system, and a custom skill has your standards baked in. So it's very, very specific to you. Now let's quickly understand of how we can do this using Claude. So let's get on with it. Okay, so before I even get on with actually understanding and developing this custom skill with Claude, if you look here, here is a quick snapshot of a difference between a custom skill and generic AI, and why prompting generic AI can cause problems and why a custom skill is needed. I've already explained this in the previous section, but if you want to just quickly go through this, you can take a screenshot, even save it for future, so that you can understand what exactly happens here and what happens in these systems when you actually create a custom skill. So this is what a dashboard looks like, right? We've already seen this. We have been very familiarized with this. We also have different kinds of models. We saw how we can utilize the different kind of models for specific use cases. Now, this one I have specifically created this time I've specifically created a free Claude account, so that the viewers who are viewing this who may okay, we are in the panel and I have opened the side pane. In the side pane you can look at customize. So when you go to customize, you see the skills that are available to you. Now before I even click skills, right, you can already see here that Claude actually asks you how you can do this. So you can connect your own apps, you can create new skills, and you can even browse plugins. Now what are plugins? These are basically pre-built knowledge for your field. So in case you want to understand how the entire Claude ecosystem works, you can drop a comment below and I can explain how you can utilize Claude for your benefit and especially for your roles. So the kind of roles that you're interested in, please remember to drop a comment below so I can actually look at what kind of videos our audience wants. To write your own set of skill instructions. So a skill, like we understood in the previous videos, is a markdown file. So you explicitly tell Claude in markdown what all is required based on the file structure that a skill understands, and then here you can directly upload a skill. So we had already uploaded the humanizer skill, which was written according to somebody else's standards. So now I just quickly clicked on create a new skill with Claude, right, and it's given this. Let's create a skill together using your skill creator skill. Wow, that's a mouthful. First, ask me what the skill should do. I am just going to quickly enter this and let's see what Claude responds. So now Claude is going to give me, I'll use the skill creator skill to guide us through this properly, and let me check it first, right? So now it's checking what the actual setup is, how it's going to be, and it tells us, what we're going to do, testing, etc, etc. If you can see here the trigger context, the output, and the test cases. Now the input, okay, the anatomy that I mentioned here, the trigger, the task, the output, and the rubric. If you see here, all of them are here. The trigger context, so when should it actually kick in? What is the output going to look like? So what exactly is it going to do? And what are the test cases? So test cases are basically checking and reviewing for whether the skill that we've created is working in the right direction or not. Now, the skill that I'm building today is going to be a copy review skill for Orenda. So this is the brand that we've been using across this series. And the idea is that any piece of copy going out under the Orenda brand name, right, gets run through the skill before it's even published. It gets checked against Orenda's specific brand voice criteria and structured, basically a structured output that is going to be actionable. So this is the architecture that is somewhat in my mind, right? That is to build a copy review skill for Orenda, right? So we're going to do this entirely, and this is the architecture. So my trigger should look something like review this for Orinda, is this on brand, something like that. Then I'm going to look at the brand voice rubric, then I'm going to review it, right? And then I'm going to give it a structured output. Now this is the architecture for the skill that I'm going to use. Alright folks, so instead of actually typing the entire prompt, I have already written it somewhere for myself. So now look at this. What am I saying? Build a copy review skill for Orinda, right? The name of that skill is going to be this. What is the trigger? Anytime the user pastes or uploads Orinda copy and then asks for a review, brand check, or a pre-published check, right? Also to be triggered on phrases like is this on brand, review this for Orinda, or check before I send. What it does exactly? It basically reviews any piece of Orinda copy, whether it's ad, email, social post, product description, anything, right? It checks against brand voice criteria, right? So I want it to be more direct and warm. I want it to be specific about the ingredients and benefits. I want no fear-based language in it. So something like problem skin, anti-aging, damage, nothing. These are all, I would say, phrases that are banned. Then I'm going to also talk about whether it celebrates the customer's existing routine rather than positioning against the alternatives that are there. And then also I want the sentence rhythm to be short lead sentences with supporting details, right? Then the vocabulary, what kind of words. I don't want it to use words like clinically proven, right? Because as a skincare brand, it could be possible that it's not yet clinically proven. It's under trials, and that's what happens with most skincare brands. So I need to be very careful of what actually I put out. And then I have basically created this. And then the next thing I have, after the review section of what actually it's going to review, the output format, I've said that, okay, pass with edits or review needed. There are three things, right, that my senior copywriter was doing, which is either they were passing it or they were saying that it will pass with certain edits and an entire rewrite that could have been needed for that particular copy, right? So you flag the line and then you basically give the tone summary of whether even the overall piece sounds like Orinda or what Orinda is supposed to sound like. Now I'm going to quickly hit enter on this, and we are going to now come back and see when and while this builds, when this completely builds out. It is also going to ask me certain questions, right? Whether it should check to all paragraphs. I'm going to say all paragraphs for this one. I want all variants of this. Okay, do you want to test cases before we finalize? Yes, I want to also set up the test cases. So it's also going to ask me prompting questions that my instructions may not actually specify. And now it's done everything, and now it's setting it up, right? Now you see that the skill creator is taking this specification and then turning it into a configured skill, one that probably Claude can trigger automatically with all of these criteria already loaded. So I don't need to paste these brand guidelines into every review request. Now they basically live inside the skill. So I'm going to quickly wait till this creates the entire skill empty, and I'm going to be back then. Alright, now you see that there is a skill.md that is there, right? It's already drafted. It has done the 3 test cases. It has checked it entirely. Now what is it asking me? Here are this thing, how do these look? Any suggested? And I'll say no, it's alright. Build me the skill now. So it's actually not yet built the skill, it's only build the skill.md. And now it's going to run the script and build it into the proper directory. So now it's going to package it. So once it is actually convinced, or it has convinced me in fact, that the skill is actually going to be used ahead, then it now, once the validation has been passed, it now creates a writable output location, something that, okay, while that is happening, let's quickly also write a bad copy. So I want, I have this bad copy that I had written here, so I'm going to quickly paste that as well. Now if you see, it's done. See, the name is exact same, Orinda copy review. All the criteria that I mentioned is mentioned here. So you have, it needs to be direct and warm, specific, right? No broad claims, etc. Vocabulary to flag and stuff like that. Everything is here, and this is the output format. Now I'm going to save the skill quickly, okay? And I had already written a bad set of copy, so this has deliberate errors in this. So I want you to I want to show you how this works. So I can just invoke it by the slash, and I've copied it. So you see the word revolutionary is here, which is bad, transformative. So now it's reading it, right? And then it's reviewing, and then it's given its verdict. What is the verdict? That an entire rewrite is needed, right? So this is going to be a piece of the copy, and here are the lines that are flagged. It says what? Revolutionary, banter, you need a suggested alternative. Transformative formula, right? So it's going to say things like signs of aging, or see again, signs of aging, fear-based language, alternative, softens fine lines. So it's giving you how you can fix it, right? It's saying that the suggested alternative also, needs to probably be framed around skin gains. That is not understanding what you're fighting against, but what you can gain. And that's usually a brand's, voice principle that is going to be showing up in this rewrite. Now, this is a good catch, right, that I want you to see here, that it is not just looking at single phrases, it's also looking at context. So a simple single phrase can also like show up in two different places. So one is, let's say, naturally nourishing, powerful blend of active ingredients, right? Here the word of natural, you have to mention it, like what exactly is there. So it's like an unspecific claim, right? And because there is no active ingredient that is there, that criteria is also something that is, broken. So now it has dissected it completely, and this is the kind of non-generic grammar checker thing that we actually want this to do. It's to review at a higher level. Now, you understand the tone summary, right? The two sentences on whether even it sounds like Orenda. It says that it's completely bad when it comes to sounding like the brand. So every violation gets caught, right? Everyone with a specific reason, a specific alternative is also proposed for it. And that's the skill doing the job, and that currently falls probably to a senior copywriter or even a brand manager, right? Who's reading every piece of copy before it even goes up. Now, here's probably what the corrected version looks like after applying the flags. Now, what I'm going to do is I have the corrected version with me, and let's quickly paste this in and actually ask it to evaluate this, okay? Let's see what's the verdict on this, right? Maybe it's going to be better, maybe it's going to still say, see, overall verdict passed, because this actually sounds like the brand. So, what does it have? It has the Orenda Glow Serum, what there is. It tells you what all ingredients are there, and then it talks about how it can fit into your routine. So this version would definitely pass the skill. See, the copy review skill is actually one example. Before I give you the broader picture, one distinction that's worth knowing is what category it actually fits into, because it changes which kind of skill you would build for what kind of a problem. Now, there are three categories broadly. If you see here, you have production based, review based, and transformation based skills. Now, production skills generate any kind of output. So, whether it's a document, a deck, a report, right? Everything that we've covered from episodes 1 through 8 in this particular series. Then the review skills actually evaluate. So, this is something that we have seen right now with the copy reviewer, right? So, they flag problems, they suggest alternatives, they give a verdict, because that's how a review skill is actually meant to be built. And then the last kind is the transformation one, where we see that we take an existing output, right, and then we rework or repurpose the content for a new particular need. So whether it's humanizing, whether it's changing or creating a LinkedIn post from your brief, right? We've seen this in the last couple of episodes, and that's something what a transformation skill does, right? So most marketing teams, well, they at least need one of each. So here's what's worth building in my head, because you just don't want a chatbot that's giving you answers. You want a workflow engine, right? Somewhere you're giving an input, then you have the rules set in, then you review the logic and the output format, and then you can actually get results into your workflow that are extremely important. So if your brand is specific, right, to, let's say, is specific enough for a particular use case, which is going to be in most cases, then instead of using the humanizer skill, right, you can maybe create a brand voice skill. Then find a skill that not only just removes the AI patterns, but a skill that checks for it, right? And then in terms of production, you can think about campaign briefs. If your team is producing campaign briefs regularly and they always need to follow the same format, right, then a campaign brief is something that you should think about creating. So with your sections, your names, your field names, your agency's requirement, everything that's baked into it, right? If you work with clients and produce reports in, let's say, a specific format, right, then you can have a skill that basically changes it into a specific format. So you reformat it for the client facing thing that you require. If you operate in a regulated category, for example, BFSI or healthcare or even FMCG for that matter, right? And anything that has any kind of compliance checks, then you can create a compliance review, an evaluator skill that basically evaluates all the pre-compliance claims that you are making and all the claims that you could make. Now, these are probably skills that will also help your legal team to review these, so you're not essentially replacing the legal review. You mind that it's about catching the obvious problems before it even reaches legal, right? So that legal doesn't just point out the obvious things and be like, dude, this is so obvious, right? It's just going to save time for them and for you. So the principle across all of these is just the same. So you find your task that your team does on repeat, where a single person is currently the quality control layer. You basically standardize it for everybody and say, okay, this is how we're going to go ahead. This is how the skill is going to be built and this is how you're going to use it. So instead of creating a first pass editor, you basically create a reviewer, right? And this is going to be the last demo in this series, where we have unpacked all the different kinds of workflows, and we've also unpacked what exactly it is and how exactly we can create our own skills for our particular workflows as well. Let me say something to you clearly, and what I think you should actually take from this entire series. See, I don't want you to get lost in the volume of content. There is so much content on the internet itself. But this wasn't a series about prompting either. It was not about even getting better outputs from Claude, by asking better questions. The whole argument from episode 1 all the way through this one has been about a mental model shift. From using Claude as a chatbot that drafts for you, right, and it drafts things for you that you can work with, to using it actually as a workflow engine that produces finished deliverables. That shift basically changes how much value you get from the tool. Not by just a tiny margin, but by a multiple, I would say, compounding kind of an effect and value that it can generate. The one thing that I'd ask you to do this week, right, is to pick one workflow that your team does on repeat, where the output is currently inconsistent or probably takes longer than it should. Ask the 3 questions. So, does it repeat? Does it have a specific format? Does someone review it for consistency? If the answer is yes to all 3 of them, build the skill. It'll probably just take an hour for us, if you get well versed with it. It took about just 15 to 20 minutes to do this, and the return on that 20 minutes probably compounds every time the workflow runs. But before you do, a quick question for the comments. What's the first custom skill you're going to build? Drop it below. I read every comment in this series, and I actually want to understand what all new content you want to see on this channel. And now that this series is closing, I'll just say the question isn't whether AI is going to change how marketing teams work, because we already know it has. The question is whether you're using it as a chatbot or as a workflow engine. And I will leave it with you guys, and I will see you in our next series. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel to get updated with the new series that we come out with. And we also conduct lives every week, so do check them out as well. Thank you so much, and I hope you really enjoyed this series, and I will see you the next time. Bye bye.